Are you using Microsoft Excel but not using pivot tables? If so, give me 10 minutes of your time. My name is Karin Jeske, and in this brief demo, I will give you an overview of how I use pivot tables in my work as a retail merchant to analyze and improve my product lines. Let's get started. Okay, in this image, I visualized a line of 20 beach towels that were launched on a US website on February 15th. It's now March 15th, and I'd like to see what's selling because I have to finalize my line for next year now. And I'd also like to make sure that everything is coming through at the correct price point. So let's look at the data. What we have here is a row for every order that has come into the website so far. The information that we have for each order is the state that it shipped to, the unique order number, the style. Look for Nantucket Breeze in the product line, and I do see it over here in the upper right hand. So we're looking at the right data. The month that the order took place in, the number of units that were sold, and the total revenue. The next thing I'd like to do is look at the total data set. So I'm going to put my cursor in cell A1 and go to my keyboard and click Control, Shift, and I'm holding down Control and Shift and then End. And that takes me to the bottom of my spreadsheet, and I can see that I have 1,583 orders so far, plus the header row. And now that I've highlighted my data, I can proceed with creating my pivot table. To do that, I'm going to go to Insert at the top, Pivot Table. And this brings up this box. I will accept the defaults, which confirm the data set and also open up a new tab. Okay, so now we're in a new worksheet where we're going to create the pivot table. The original data are still on the tab that we started with. And on the right-hand side, you can see pivot table fields. And here we have each of the columns that were in our original data represented. Below we have 4 boxes, filters, columns, rows, and values. And we will be using each of these in the analysis that we do today. The first thing I'd like to do is drag revenue into values. Values is the box where you will drag most of your number columns. Since it's revenue, I'm going to convert it to currency, and to make it easier to read, I'm just eliminating the decimal places. I can see that I've sold just over $70,000 so far. The next thing I like to do, of course, is look at which style is selling. So I've dragged style into the rows box. Now I can see all 20 of the styles here, and they sort by default in alphabetical order. Of course, I'd like to look at them in order of revenue. So to do that, I'm going to click on any one of these numbers in the revenue column, right-click with my mouse, sort largest to smallest. And now I can see that Trinidad Mimosa is my best-selling style. And that one is right here. It is a beautiful orange and turquoise geometric. Next, I'd like to look at the monthly sales trend. So I'm going to drag months into the columns box. And now I have a column for every month. Later on in the season, when I do this, I'll have a lot more columns. I can see here that I sold just over $21,000 in February, and in March, I sold close to $49,000. So sales are building, which is what I want to see. Now that I have that information, I'm going to take month out of the pivot table. And now I'll be looking at the overall sales data again. Now I'd like to look at which product sold the most units, which will not necessarily be the same one that sold the most revenue. And units came through with dollar signs, and I'm going to fix that by changing those to numbers. Now, I'd like to keep this sorted by revenue because that's probably the most important metric, but I'm going to use conditional formatting to see which style sold the best. So I'm looking for the darkest shade of green, and I see it over here with Newport Multi. Let's look at the product line. Newport Multi is another geometric with warm colors, so I am seeing a trend towards geometrics this season. I am expecting that Newport Multi will have a lower average selling price because we've sold more units and brought in fewer dollars with that style than the Trinidad Mimosa. So let's see if that is true. To do that, I'm going to have to add a calculated field. So I'm going to go to Pivot Table Analyze and click on Fields, Items, and Sets, and then choose Calculated Field. And this box appears. In this box, I can create different calculations with the fields that we're working with. In this case, I want to take revenue and divide it by units to calculate the average selling price. Now I can see a new field has appeared. I'm going to convert it to currency with decimal places. I'm going to take the field and rename it to average selling price. And I'm going to use conditional formatting once again. The Newport Multi is one of our lowest priced items, so it's very typical to see that we sell the most of a lower priced item. The last thing I'd like to do is provide some regional information to our sales force. So I'm going to take state and I'm going to drag it into filters. And now state appears at the top, and none of this data have changed so far. But what this will allow me to do is filter down to any state and see what's selling in that state. So I'm going to choose Texas. All of the styles have sold in the state of Texas. It resorted by revenue for Texas specifically. And so let's look at one more state. Let's look at Arizona. And I can see that not everything has sold in Arizona, and Trinidad Dusk is the best seller there. The regional managers can use this information when we roll the product out into the stores to determine what they would feature in their market. Now I'm going to switch back to all. Before I send this out, I'm centering the information in each of the number columns and double checking to make sure it's conveying the information I want. I'm excited to share this information with my colleagues. I believe that this product line is going to be successful, and I am excited about developing the line for next year. Thank you for joining me. I hope that this helps you get started with pivot tables in your work.